Our hearts beat to the city streets. We began to feel the fire. We rise like tall buildings as the chemicals, they take us higher. The night's young, it has just begun. As she puts her hand in mine. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light. Pull stars from the sky, just two hearts running wild. Never sleep, never stop. As we shout from the top, we're gonna be two hearts running wild. Now the morning, the afternoon, lay awake and laugh so loud as the hours pass. We're gonna do it all again. We wanna chase the night, wanna dance to the light. Pull stars from the sky, just two hearts running.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. I hope you have audio without issues. Yeah, it's Wednesday and it is a little bit later than 2 p.m. I had some delays. My unit decided that they needed an update. Computer wanted updates, software wanted update, everything wanted updates. And I was having some things I had to get finished for work as well. So everything kind of ran a bit late, and it's one of those days. Compare it to driving in a car, um, and you need to go through the city, and you basically get all the red lights all the way through, no green wave. That was kind of my afternoon. So I hope everything and everyone here are fine here on this wonderful Wednesday afternoon. It is now 2:24 p.m. and my plan is to continue working on the Mosaic Granny Square that's going to turn into potholders. And this is kind of where we left off at. So that is still the plan, to continue on those. Also have tea, faithful mug of tea. Today it's just a classic lemon tea. Um, Good afternoon, Hella. And yes, I know you have to leave soon, and I know you'll be back. I hope the appointment goes well. Hello, Megan. Good afternoon to you. Since you're saying good afternoon, I'm unsure if you're saying good afternoon because it's my afternoon or if it's also your afternoon. Because I'm kind of used to a lot of people jumping in here are from the States. I know it is morning over there, so a good morning to you guys. So the goal is basically to fix this granny square and um, make sure that, so I need to pull up the extra yarn so it doesn't indent. I decided to make a new version because this wasn't gonna work out. Absolutely gorgeous though, but it won't. It doesn't sit straight, and I can't stretch it enough, and that's because of these front post trebles. I just didn't have enough. Like I would say, they were too tight to make up the distance gap, and that's why they kind of curve in. Uh, Further than that, absolutely wonderful pattern. I love the gorgeous idea of it. But this, even though how much I stretch it, the corners will fit, but this won't keep shape. So I repurposed this granny square. It's becoming, what should I call it? A vase holder or like a little doily for on the table. If I have a pot of flowers or something like that, I can protect my table. So that is what this turns into. It's not going to become a pot holder. Um, because, well, I made a mistake. Also means I won't have enough yarn to make 2 pot holders. So what I am trying to do is I'm trying to see if I can make the first pot holder. This is the back piece. I'm simply trying to see if I can make the first pot holder, because if I can make the first pot holder, then I can order some more yarn. I'll just do that once the yarn at some stage is for sale or on sale, and I will go ahead and order it by then. So for me right now, it's more about, can I actually make the right size? And a really good view here is you can see how this one doesn't stretch out as it should be, even though if I really pull here, it really takes a bit of a force to do so, where the other one under here compared to is rather relaxed. So obviously I need to fix that, and that is why that is the decision. I had a few suggestion me to just frocking this one, but the problem is I sew in the end so darn well that I'm unable to frock my projects. So I've tried frocking in the past, and it's usually not a success. So it's 8:30 a.m. So you are in the US Eastern time zone, I can figure out by this. Also, right now the sun is actually shining, but it has been raining today as well, because it was just raining like half an hour ago. But we do have this lovely function in the chat. If you type in weather and then either your zip code or a city region in your proximity, it could be a region like, if you're in New Jersey, you could type in New Jersey, and we should get the weather. Right now you can see here it is partly cloudy around the city of Nijmegen. Nijmegen is here in the Netherlands where I'm from. Well, I live at least about 7 kilometers from Nijmegen, which is like, what, 5 miles? It's 72 degrees Fahrenheit or about 22 degrees Celsius, and the wind is blowing from the west. Good morning, Misty. Good morning from SoCal, Southern California. That's really early if you're in California. In New Jersey, the weather is 80 degrees Fahrenheit or 27 degrees Celsius. The wind is blowing from west at 3 miles per hour. Current humidity is 82. That sounds like it's just rained with that humidity. Hello, Amanda. Absolutely wonderful to see you here. I am just gonna flip the camera down. Let's see, we need first to have our dual screen mode. Ta-ta. We'll flip down so you guys can actually follow, or at least partially see the fact that I am attempting to do stuff. I am missing one more round in this color, and then we need to change to the more like a fuchsia pink. I might even have the color names for you guys, if I am so blessed that this is one of those that Hobby actually remembers. But yeah, so I'm unfortunately needing to buy new yarns. What a shame. I should probably check if it's on sale this week. That would be nice. Let's see. Everything is fine, thank you. I was just a bit late on the live today, because, well, life kind of got in the way, basically. It's 8/8. Yeah, it's Hubby's Friends 8/8. And this is the colorway Lilac, I believe. Yeah, 63 Lilac. Then after this, we're going to the Thistle, which is 61, and then we're going to the Grape, which is 65. So, so we have like a really, really light lilac. Then we have the real lilac, and then we have the Thistle and the Grape in this color combination. Absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous colors, wonderful yarn to work with. Unfortunately, just I made the mistake of not leaving the tension here, so you know it's not going to stretch how I need it. But as I said, this, instead of frocking it, I'm just going to turn it into a, should we call it a vase holder? So this table, you can see it's very sensitive to moist. So if there's just a little bit of moist underneath, I tried blocking it. It won't stretch out because even if I stretch here, it won't keep shape. This one won't keep the shape. It's just too like, and the issue is actually this pattern is wanting to use a treble, front post treble, to cover the height of two doubles, which is probably it should be quadruple. I don't know. But yeah, so it's going to be crocheted together with a single crochet border with a regular granny square afterwards. But yeah, so this one I'm just gonna, I have already decided it's gonna retire as a, what should we call it? Like, you know, imagine my cup of tea right now, or mug of tea, being a vase of flowers. Then this protects my table if there is any moist underneath. Because if it's moist underneath this table, it goes like, I get all white spots on it because of the coating on it. So that is kind of how this one is gonna be. It's just retired as that. It's just gonna be holding my vases. Yeah, it is double. I just have a regular granny square underneath. Ta-ta! And you can actually see it. So if I put this one on, you can actually see how bad it is. Like, and even if I put in stitches here, then to pull it all the way down here, it's a really long stretch to ask. So it won't keep the shape even after it's blocked. And then it's not, this is a lot looser compared to. So that is why I am making a new one, which is the one we have right here. And let's see, center to center. Couldn't I do that? This right now keeps its shape because I am pulling up a bit of extra distance on those trebles, the front post trebles. So I just simply wasn't thinking when I made the first one of these, which totally sucks, but that's how it is. Misty, I got the blocking board off, I do think it was off Temu, maybe even. It wasn't too expensive. I don't know, maybe I paid 15 euros for it. But it works brilliantly. So yeah, I think it was off Temu. So yeah, normally I would say yes, I'd block it, and I expected to block it a little, but it's just way too tight here. So what I'm doing on this is that I am elongating those trebles a bit to kind of help make up for the lack of distance. And then every row I will make sure to check that it is indeed still nicely squared around. And that's what I forgot to do with the other one. I was just so hyper to get it done until I realized the mistake. But, you know, I first realized it way too late. And a part of me was like thinking, oh, I can probably just block some of it out, you know. But, you know, what I should have done instead was to make the standard granny square, the backside piece, and just see and make sure that the front piece would fit instead. But I just didn't do that. So that is a first class beginner's mistake, which I really shouldn't make, but I did. Instead, I now gave myself an excuse to buy new yarn. So yeah, I'll pull up a little bit extra distance for the first part of the treble to help me bridge the distance gap. And I think technically this pattern, at least with my attention, should just probably have been a like it should have been a quadruple, like two doubles. Quadruple would probably be the right word here. But yeah. So yeah, I just give them a bit of extra distance to make sure that they keep the right shape. That's basically what I'm doing now, which I didn't do in the first. And it wasn't like there was a tip saying, hey, keep that in mind or something like that. But the fact is just like in the space gap, I work in double crochets, but it's a space gap of a double crochet. And then underneath, you need to do a front post treble in that center of that previous, like 2 rows ago. But you're working in the height of a double crochet and you have a double crochet in between. So that's basically a quadruple crochet, I would say. But you only do a treble front post, which makes it too short. So that's why I just, add the extra length to make sure of the height distance. And that is probably where it went wrong. I was just reading the pattern and not thinking. That is something I need to remember myself to do. If I have a corkboard pot holders, I do, but they're round. I do have them, but they're round, so I would need to like cut them up. I'm not going to do that. I have those classic round ones. I bet you have them too if you shop by IKEA, which I know you do. We're talking about these, right? These, but they're round, and yeah, I'm fine with them just being of cork. So I'm just gonna use the other one for below a flower plant or something like that. Oh, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't they come in squares? But yeah, so I like the idea of just, using this as a tablecloth for below a vase of flowers, and that's it. I'm fine. I've found a purpose for it, and I've accepted its fate. But yeah, no, they are unfortunately not on sale right now. The cottons, Friends Cotton 88. So if I would want to get something that resembles a sale on them, I would need to buy 20, which I'm not gonna do, I think, because if I can get them on sale, I don't need to buy as many. So that would be a great excuse for just waiting until they get on sale, I guess. Plus, I've been a good girl. I didn't order anything yet, so I'm just kind of like first seeing if I can actually do this, because I clearly showed one failed. So the idea is that I need to be able to make this, and if I can't do that, then I can order some yarn. Oh, that was a double, that wasn't a triple. Then I can order some yarn when it's on sale. Oh, and that's not the right stitch. Really need to pay attention right now. So yeah, so it's basically giving myself an excuse to buy yarn, I guess. Oh, I also need to make a double before making the triple. It's really not going very well right now. But yeah, so that's the thought I have on this account. And I think the pattern itself is a nice pattern. It looks really nice. The end result hopefully is really nice. But personally, I'd probably prefer upsizing the crochet hook as well. I did upsize a little bit. I should maybe have upsized a little bit more, because what I feel is when I work in this yarn with a smaller hook is it does want to split a little on me once in a while. And it's still reasonably straight lined, which is the goal right now. So, how is everybody else? Except for the fact that, I've been rambling on. How are you all? I hope you are doing very well. I can't believe it's almost already Wednesday. And, on Friday, it's already the 1st of August. Like, what? The time has flown by this summer much, much quicker than I had expected. And I need a project for the car in the weekend. I haven't decided which. I have highly been debating on bringing my, I have leftovers from the cowl I made, which I finished Monday. And instead of just stuffing that directly in the stash, I'm debating to make the Ultimate Sacrifice shawl once more and use that darker outer ring as the heart center, and then do from light to dark blue, because I do have an extra skein, and then basically wrap it up like that. That could be nice. Plus, it would help me spend some of that leftover yarn of the skein instead of just adding it to my stash pile. Not that I had the plan actually on making that shawl anytime soon, but it seems like the logic would be, if I do it, I would kind of have less yarn in my scrap stash. So I like that idea, and it's a good car project. Look, we are still doing reasonably straight, I would say. Amanda says her mom is surprise visiting in a few hours, so she's cleaning. Wasn't expected to visit anytime soon. That was basically how I felt 4 weeks ago when the son of my sister wrote a message saying, "Hey, I'm so happy Mom said that we could sleep here on our way to Paris." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I actually said he could do that like in the beginning of May, but then I didn't hear anything. And then like a week before he arrived, he was like, 'Yeah, we're coming.' And I'm like, oh, okay, I need to clean the house and make sure that my guest room isn't just like stacked and piled up with everything. So I had to like, yeah, that took the whole weekend when I was like home alone. So I had planned to do lots of crocheting, and I got very little amount of crocheting done that week. Been mostly out and about the last few weeks, so home is a mess. Yeah, can relate to that as well. I'm only out Saturday though. Also, I'll be back home. It's just, a little day trip. Misty woke up with a sniffle this morning. Oh no, I hope you feel better soon. Maybe grab a cup of tea, add some honey to it. At least that is the classic mom trick or old wise tale trick here in Europe. Megan asked if I had any trouble following that pattern. I was reading comments that it was hard to follow. I don't think it's hard to follow, to be honest. Or, well, I think it's logic once I get started on it. But the problem is, I think the treble crochet probably should be quadruple crochets. I don't know if that's even the right word. Like, a double crochet is 2 single crochets, treble crochet is 3 single crochets, and quadruple would be 4 single crochets. Like, so I would say, so you wrap out around 2 for the treble, so you wrap out an extra 4th for the quadruple, I don't know if that's the right word for it, um, but it says treble, so I've done the treble so far. But what I do is I pull up the yarn a bit extra long loop before I go through the loops, and that helps with the heights. But technically, you could probably do the same by going 3 times around for those, if that makes sense. Your guest room isn't all full of yarn. Well, it's also full of other stuff, and like an exercise bike and clothing, um, and my other company business, and yarn, and things are kind of like just stacked like it's a storage. Generally, my guest room is also a storage room, which I really should clean up. But the issue is generally that my yarn stash is too big. So the fact is that I'm giving me an excuse to buy new yarn is not really a good thing, I guess. But I'm also working on a few other things to help decrease some of the room I have. I just haven't finished it fully up yet. Maybe next week. I kind of hoped I could do it this week. I should work on it more tonight, I guess. Oh, the ultimate sacrifice shawl. Right. Um, I don't think it's difficult actually. It does need you to pay a little attention the first few places where you increase. But once that's done, it's simple, especially when you get to the shells. Like, I wouldn't say I can do the pattern from my head, but like when I've done the basic heart shape before you go to the shell increases, I need to pay focus there. But once I'm at the shell increases, it's like, I just need to make sure that after every 4 rows, I need to do an increase. Easy peasy. So in that sense, that part of the pattern is just in my head. So I think it's an okay enough pattern to actually just bring with me in the car. It would be my 3rd ultimate sacrifice shawl. And I would probably end up selling it. But I just need to take some time. Yeah, so I have the outside of that cake from the other project, and since I have a full other cake, it would be a perfect match. It would be a perfect usage of that yarn. Plus, I don't need to put it in my scrap stash or scrap pile, which is something that really speaks to me at the moment. I like that. Thank you. It gives me more confidence to try it. Well, as I said, you just really need to keep your stitch counting well, and just like read it carefully. But really, once you're done through those increases, it's super simple. And in fact, once you've placed the first couple of increases, you can, if you're good enough at looking at your stitches, see where you need to insert the other increases. As long as you pay attention, it's easy. So I'm kind of surprised every time people say that they make mistakes in it. That said, I think I did frock the first one I made once or twice, maybe. But yeah, it's a while ago. That was like last autumn. The one I made this spring was just straight sailing. I also had a little bit scrap I ended up doing on the outer edge of that one. So what we need to do in a hot minute is that I need to make sure that this yarn is, this yarn, the square, because we are almost all the way around. I need to make sure that we are still squared. if that makes sense. So what I do is I'll just sort of close it with a slip stitch, though that is not how I will normally close the square. But we're just gonna check it's still squared nicely, because if it's not, then I need to redo it. But it looks a lot more. Also, if we just look on the back side, it's much more visible here on the back side how it indents a bit. And well, because here in the beginning, the first view has this extra length, but you can actually see it's a little bit here, and it gets more and more. But this looks pretty squared, I would say. And what I could also do is I could compare it to my piece here on the blocking board. Just pull out the yarn a bit. Just to fill the center. So far, we are following pattern pretty good, size-wise. Awesome, 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 awesome. This means that I can cut some yarn and weave in an end or two and find the thistle color. So the benefit of having a front and a back side, of course, is that my end weaving does need to be 100% perfect in the sense of how it looks, where the end ends, because the back side will be hidden. Now, so yeah. I'm not saying that I'm a big fan of weaving in ends though. So that's the only downside of this pattern. It has a fair few ends to weave. But we are getting there. Then we have the end from the previous row of when I started it. Also need to weave that one in. Of course, I could also be partially lazy and first weave in these ends once off camera, I guess. but it just doesn't work for me. Well, it could. It's not too bad. So that was actually okay. It's not gonna come loose. Of course, I already sort of semi-crocheted over that end. I'm just adding a little bit extra to it. So we are gonna find the next color. So far, we are following the sizing as expected. So definitely pulling a little bit extra does seem to help. So this would be the next color. Color 61, Thistle. So we'll start by a stacked single crochet instead of the doubles, because I think it gives a nicer result on the final piece. And then the classic granny corners. So that should be easy enough. Then we'll do a single crochet, not a single, sorry, a chain, double, and then it's this triple in the previous, not the previous row, but the row before that, 2 rows ago, of that center stitch. And as I said, I do pull up a little bit extra yarn intentionally to make sure that I have enough yarn to give me the height so it doesn't curve in, because clearly I didn't consider that to be an issue when I made the first one, and I realized that will be an issue. And the math tells me it's logic, actually. So I understand why it happened, and now I'm fixing it. I'm just kind of sad I didn't think about it when I did the other one, so I could have prevented that happening. But as I said, it's already gotten its new purpose of life. And I'm fine with it. I'm absolutely fine with it. And then we'll go into that, pull up a little bit extra. Then we are out to the classic granny square corner. we'll go on to the next side. But so far it looks squared. Yeah. I also started a new knitting project actually. And I really like how it's turning out. Just a classic hat, but with a three-stranded yarn. So it's a bit of a bulkier type, but it's really so soft. I'm really looking forward to show that on Friday's yarn talk video. Maybe today, depends on how quickly we get through this. But yeah, so it's almost August. It's crazy to think about. Time has been flying this summer. And at the same time, I don't have the feeling that I've done much. Maybe it's because, I don't know. I have the feeling that's hypothetical, and you can like argue with me if you want, or agree with me or disagree with me. But as we get older, and I'm talking more of like generally as we get older, I have the feeling that time flies faster. Like, I still remember being a child, and summer vacation was awesome because it was 6 or 7 weeks of no school, and that freedom, and it went usually forever until you were within the last week and it was like, oh, why it's gone so fast. um you know that feeling, it's not really the same anymore. The summer, it like flies by quicker because the time feels like it goes faster. And don't forget to drink. But I think as we get older, the sense of time flies faster because we have so many extra things that we do in life. It's like, when we were a child, we have very few worries, but when we're grown-ups, we need to worry about paying the bills. We need to worry about make sure that the dinner is made. We need to make sure everything is fine, right? And when we were a child, we didn't have those worries, right? Because our parents worried for us instead. And therefore, I guess time just feels like it's flying quicker by. I don't know. It's very hypothetical, but I generally have the feeling that time goes quicker as I've gotten older. Um, Further than that, it's just crocheting along. We'll need to check when this row is complete that we are still making a nice square. As I said, the difference is that now already I am pulling up the extra yarn, so theoretically this square is more likely to be there rather than it's indenting on the center towards the center, so it will curve less. So we are back to the classic granny corner stitch. Obviously the back panel is really easy to make because it's just a big granny square. that, chain 1, and then we'll have that last row to go, but just like taking it out even here, it looks still nice and squared. It is definitely looking better than my first attempt, so I'm rather happy so far, rather happy. I do need another 2 rows of this color, so in this thistle. So the first color I do 2 rows of, and then it's 3 times 3 rows, so in total 11 rows. But yeah, so far we are rocking it. I'm just making sure I have that extra yarn pulled up when I do those trebles really seem to have fixed the issue. But as I said, it's logic when it's stacked on 2 doubles, like it needs to be the length of 2 doubles, and a treble will never be the length of 2 doubles. It's just too short. So we are all the way around. That was a slip stitch. I just need to make sure it's nicely stretched. As I said, it's still pretty squared, so that still looks pretty good. And I still think the size is good as well, because the corners doesn't change. So as long as this, like if you pull out the corners, as long as it's nice and square still, it should be fine. Yep. We are good. Now we're slip stitching to that corner, because we need to make another round in this corner, of in this color, not in this corner, but in this color. We start in the corner by working up the stacked double. So, well, I'm stacking 2 singles on top of each other, so 2 stacked single crochets to replace the double. And then the rest of the round is just basically the same. Like that. We are going in the row before the previous. So we are started on a new row here. Looking good. Thank you. I really like it also when we add the grape color to it. So the only thing I would have liked the thistle to be a little bit more like darker lilac. That would have been perfect. But I'm not unsatisfied with how it's turning out. I'm definitely not unpleased. Um, oh, need to pay attention. What I have this actually, sitting making this has given me this greatest idea for a potential um, new bucket hat design. So I may end up playing around with that. I just need to check if I actually have enough yarns in the colors that I think would work nice together. I should. Because ideally, I shouldn't buy anything, but I'm so tempted. I'm so tempted to get something, but I really shouldn't. But for a bigger purpose, sure. What I could do, if I really go that direction, I would need to consider maybe first doing that in September. Unless, of course, the yarn goes on sale before then. It does want to go slightly ever so in. Well, that's not correct because obviously that's smaller, so I need to look at from this corner to that corner, is it straight? And I would say it is. Because here I started the new round. So here it's stacked out. So these two needs to be aligned. Yeah, should be okay, I think. And if not, I will cry or conclude, oh my goodness, that this project wasn't meant for me. That's also a possibility. This project is telling me that it wasn't meant to be made by me. That is definitely a possibility. I think we all have those art projects that wasn't meant to be. As I said, I have one whip in my stash, in my whip pile, which is probably going to be my eternal whip pile because I'm not sold on it as much as I was, and I think my bottom line conclusion is that while it seems super simple to make, it's size-wise not fitting right now. So maybe I/we could fit one another if I lose a bit of weight, but I'm still not sure if the project is really going to be as nice as I thought it would be. So I'm generally just considering it being it. I worked a bit on it last summer, and then, yeah, we stopped. But yeah, so right now this is the focus. Let's see if this is actually possible to create without it being too disaligned. I think we're still doing good. It does slightly ever want to go in, but it's definitely not as bad as the last one I made. So I'm inclined to say that I might have found the way to work this pattern. Yeah. Kind of gotten into the flow now. Oh, that was until that moment when I had yarn split. Because that is what this yarn does, because I am working a slightly small hook. But yeah, that is what the pattern called for. So that is what we're doing. But as I said earlier today, is if I would do this again, and that's mainly also because obviously I finished the other one, I would probably be inclined to upsize my hook. Even just a number right now, I'm at a D hook, maybe I would use an E hook or an F hook. And I would be fine with it. Because it would cause this particular yarn to, I personally think, work smoother with the hook. And I do have a hook that works really smooth with the yarn. It's a Clover Soft Touch hook. But when the size of the hook is just slightly too small compared to the working yarn, which of course you need to get a tighter definition, stitch definition that is, or if you crochet amigurumi, but this is not amigurumi, so I'm not sure why the option for that size hook. They say actually you should use a 3mm, and this is a 3.25. And I would be inclined to maybe even use a 3.5 for this project. But I didn't because my 3.5mm hook was at another project when I started on the first one. So I thought, yeah, well, that's a little bit bigger and that feels better already. So I'm fine. And that's what I went with. In hindsight, I had probably been happier if I had used the 3.5 for this. But that is what it is. So that was this round. I just did a chain and then we are slip stitching into that first stitch like that. And the important part is, are we still squared? Like, are we still reasonably squared? Well, let's just quickly do the stitch mark a bit. And then I think we would say it's still reasonably squared. You can see it does want to a little bit, but it's not as bad. Like if I need to get this out on the height, it's much more willing compared to if I want to get this to the height already. You can see I need to pull and stretch in it, where here compared to it's rather little. So that's positive. We're just gonna compare it to the base of the other. So 1, 2, 3, I need one more. So they would have to go on somewhere like that. I would say size-wise we're still doing pretty good actually. As I said, I am doing 3 rows of the colors from here on. So the first two I only did 2 rows. There is 3 rows of lilac, and then there's going to be, now there's 2 rows of the thistle, and we'll do 1 more row before adding the grape color. So we have quick math, 4 rows left plus the row where I need to single crochet the 2 together, so 5 rows in total. And if we will reach to do that during this live, I am not sure. We'll try our best. I did start a bit late today compared to what I normally do. But yeah, as I said, we should be fine. Oh, I'm doing it wrong. This is where I need to have those trebles. I'm going to call it an elongated treble because we pull up some extra yarn. So, yep, still chipping along. So, what are you working on? If you're working on anything specific right now, feel free to share with me. And if you're just listening to my rambling, that's all right as well. I have a little bit of music in the background because else it's rather silent in this room. But I'm not able to share that music with you guys because of copyright issues. But I did option to listen to a band named Two Cellos. They do cello covers of lots of different popular numbers. And what I like about them right now is that there isn't a song being sung. So it's just a musical background tune, which I think is really nice. So we have gotten to the corner where we need to make the classic granny corner. Like that. Chain one double crochet in the chain space before the elongated treble crochet in 2 rows below, or well, yeah, the row before the last row. So if I'm right now on round, let's say 1, 2, 5, 8, then I'll work in row, like I work in the double crochets in row 7 and the elongated treble I work in row 6. I'm working on row 8, if that makes sense. So we are at the corner again. Oh. Hello, Suzanne. Wonderful to see you. Susan says, hello, what are you working on today? I was out at the farm stands buying some fruit and veggies before it gets too hot. Well, nice. I love farm markets. We just don't have that many of them, or it's mainly groceries here, which is cool, of course, but I love a few other things than just groceries. I am working on the Mosiac Granny Square thingy that we've ended up with on Monday's stream. And I think overall we are doing better. It's less like I'm easier able to shape it. And that's because the treble crochets I make, I kind of elongate them. Because I've calculated they were actually supposed to be quadrables, but that's not what the pattern said. And with my tension, it turned into this. And this already looks like it's less inclined to do that. So I think I am on the right road. This is the last row of this current color. And I'm like, this is where it ends. So we have a little bit less than 2 rows to go. Oh, 2 rows. Half a row to go is what I wanted to say. So instead, I'll elongate those trebles a bit. So I pull up a bit of extra yarn when I go around that post. I do front post treble crochets to be more exact. And I'll need to go into the front post of, right now I'm working on row 8. This is row 6, where the treble is. And to go under this, to just work a treble, if you have 2 doubles, technically height-wise, it's not going to be long enough. So I pull up a bit of extra yarn to kind of elongate that treble. And that seems to do the trick. Optionally, I should have done quadruple crochets. For making up for that length. So yarning over 3 times rather than the normal 2 times for a treble. No. Yarn split. Well, that's nice. I hope you got everything you wanted from the farmer's market here. And it's definitely a good idea to do that before it gets too warm. Because nobody likes to be outside when it's boiling hot. I've genuinely been considering if I need to save up some money and to make an investment in an air conditioning unit here in this house because we've had a few brutal summer days. Plus, it allows me to work on warmer projects in the summer. And Susan, I started a new knit beanie and it's turning out, if I may say so, gorgeous. And it is so incredibly soft. So I'm not so sure this is the last time that I've made beanies in this yarn. But yeah. Which one? Just a classic rib knit beanie. And it's a bit of a chunkier one. I'm on 8mm needles. It's the one with the brown colors that I'm triple stranding. And it's really soft. And there is no animal fibers in it, so it's good if you have any allergies. Of course, it's 8% acrylic and 20% polyamide. And it's the first ones I am using my cubic needles for, which really genuinely, I think these makes me want to get the Knit Pro needles, the J'adore cubics. But then my question would be to those avid knitters, if any of you do have Knit Pros, and if you can tell me if all Knit Pro cables fits any Knit Pro needle for the interchangeable ones. If anyone knows, please let me know, because I think they do, but I'm not sure. And I'm considering if I should maybe add those to my wish list, because the thing is, Christmas is coming up and I'm going to Denmark for Christmas. And that means that I do need a wish list, because my family does Christmas present giving for everybody, regardless of age. And I think it's nice and cozy. But the problem is, as I've gotten older and as I've gotten jobs and an income, I tend to buy what I need, and then it doesn't leave much room left to wishes for Christmas and birthday. Because we are eventually getting at an age where, yeah, you'll just buy it, if that makes sense. So I could consider putting it on my wish list, or I'll just end up buying it because I'll get impatient before then. I'll need to think. But soon we'll need to sew in ends on this one. And then I guess I could give you a sneak peek of that beanie. But yeah, so the thing is just that the knitting needles I want don't have the right length for beanie knitting. The wires are too long, and that's why I would need shorter wires. And that is one of the reasons I wanted to ask if any of the Knit Pro wires fits any of the Knit Pro needles. Optionally, I guess I could probably send the company an email. They would answer. But it would be so much quicker if anybody here had the answer on their hands. Susan doesn't know, but she believes that I can look it up. Yeah, I should be able to look it up somewhere, I guess. I just don't want to shed $85 for a set if it's not gonna contain the right needles. So there we are. Technically, I should just close it a little bit, just to make sure this is still sort of semi-nicely squared. And I would say for something that's not blocked, it's going okay. Still think we are good, so I can block, not block. I can cut the yarn of even the ends on this one. Megan asks me which yarn's been my favorite to work with. Oh my, good question. I really like cake yarns. Love cake yarns. Cotton or cotton acrylic blend, often. Or acrylics. I do have a few more like a wool yarn types, which I don't mind working with either. I luckily don't have any allergies. If it's for items I have to wear, it has to be like really, really soft wool, like can't be scratchy, because my skin is sensitive to scratchiness, so to say. So I can't have like um a more like a rougher wool type that I wouldn't feel comfortable in. Maybe it could work as a hat, but at the same time it would touch my ears, and that can't be scratchy either. So if it feels just a slightly scratchy, I won't wear it. But I do have some sweaters which aren't scratchy at all. Actually, it's made in Alvetta. My mom knit them for me, but I have a basic cotton shirt underneath, because else it's just an edge to where I would consider it on some aspects on my arms too sensitive, or body, and on others not. So it kind of it depends a bit, because it's not scratchy, but yeah, if that makes sense. Um, I worked up an absolutely gorgeous um, poncho and 2 cakes of the alpaca wheels from Hobby. Well, it's not from Hobby, but this was the Yarn Arts version of them. And that turned out amazing. Um, and I have been using that also during the winter. Um, and yeah, what are favorites? I think mainly yarn cakes. I like making shawls or shawl-alike items. Um, yeah, I've really enjoyed working with Drops Paris. Also, this 8/8 French cotton is nice to work with. Thinner yarns, definitely always a winner. And of course, the yarns I'm knitting this beanie in is really gorgeous to work with too, because it's soft. If I have a favorite shawl I made, I think the Darjeeling tea shawl is really nice, but also my most recent make. Let's see if I actually have that. I do. If I flip around, let's see if that is. If I flip this one around over like this, this would be the most recent I made, and this is the Moroccan tea shawl, and that is designed by a Red Teapot Atelier, Ines. She makes absolutely gorgeous, intricate designs. I have seen a few of the cis handmade shawls that I'm considering to make also within the near future. So I really do enjoy making shawls. I just can't normally always have a shawl on the hook actually. Um, I just finished up the crocheting bits of um, the ginger tea shawl, And let me see if I can actually find the pattern. I would need to jump on Ravelry, so just a moment. Thank you, thank you. So I just finished that. That is in a Stanley cake, in the Muffin Mini Luxe. So that's a cake that's 8.5 ounces to 1,000 meters. So that's 1,093 yards. So yeah, 250 grams, 8.5 ounces. Ginger tea. Here we go. Let's just pop over to this window. I just finished this one, but in a blue. I need to finish the buttons, so that's actually what I'm missing. I need to do a little bit of blocking because I want the picots to sit nicely, and also because the shape of the shawl is it's kind of like it gotten smaller during the process of yeah, how can I say that? During the crochet process, as yeah, because it also have front posts, double crochets, and it's kind of like a trunk on the length. So I need to block it a little bit to get it into size. It had the right size in the foundation. I also checked before starting on all those, and still had the right sizing. So it's just during the work it crimped up a little bit. So I'll be blocking it, and then I need to create 4 buttons. I make resin buttons, which I need to do. Thank you. Thank you. Her designs are really beautiful. That is why I like them. And as I said, I need to make some buttons. Like I've already, it's just a pink one, or not pink, purple, light purple. I need to make these in blue, right sizing, but I need to make these in blue because the cowl I made is in blue. That would be the live. I finished it on Monday when I was live. And that's just a bigger button, but in a different color, also made by me. So I'm making these buttons myself, so I just need to make 4 buttons and I need to block it. And I kind of hoped I would have time to do it this week, but I might have to admit it could risk being first next week or this weekend. So not before the yarn talk, because time is a thing. I could have, of course, chosen to do that instead of going live today. But I wanted to hang out with you guys. I make those, yeah. I make those buttons. Hello, Michelle. Wonderful to see you. Gift giving for Christmas for just a second. Make everyone a throw blanket, same styles, different colors, maybe with their initials in the middle, for a 5 weight yarn. Possible? Yeah, Susan, exactly. So it is an interchangeable set that I found. And I actually technically have one. I just think I want them in wood. So I'll actually show what I have. I just need to cut this before we'll start on the grape. So we need to add grape to this. So these 2 colors are done. Not much yarn left in one of them. So let's take this one that is open. These 2 yarns go back in that bag and go back in the next bag. that would be the next ad. I have a while ago, I got these. I'm just going to put this a little bit to the side. We'll go back to that in just a minute. I got these, which are, as you can see, they're cubics. So they're cubic sword. I like them because they are swirly. Like I hold the cable and they swivel around. They swirl, which is really nice. The cubic should be really nice if you have tendency for arthritis, rheuma, or the like. I do have rheuma, but in my spinal cord. So I'm just kind of like preparing myself for the future, I guess. I do find them nice to hold on, to be honest. The cubics ones. You measure cubics on from diagonally from corner to corner, and not on where they're flat, but on the corner to corner. These are 8 mm. This is the double-stranded yarn that I'm working with, and I think this is turning out really nice. And ladies, this yarn is just so soft, like, I really like how this is working up. Triple stranding yarn. I'm just gonna quickly show you the yarn if it wants to cooperate with me. I have a white. And I have them all on the yarn spindles because that's the only way I can keep track of 3 yarns. And I have my double spindle, which I thought I would never need, but it fits perfectly these size of skeins. So as long as it's just 50 gram skeins, not an issue. But 100 gram skeins, the distance needs bigger. But these are the colors that's triple stranding turning into this gorgeous merled colored. Oh, I'm way too far out of the camera. And it's really soft. The yarn is also named Super Soft. So that just, I guess, speaks a little bit to it. But yeah, I'll just put that away. So the yarn I really wanted to get is, not the yarn, the cables I wanted to get, cables slash knitting needles that I wanted to wish for is, let's see if can I just go on the website, Knit Pro? I should be, right? It's verifying. Just a minute, ladies. Meanwhile, don't forget to drink something. Here we go. Knit Pro. Knit Pro. Let's see. I have the needles and I just need to close up for my needles. I do also actually want to get their 6.5 mm crochet hook. It's in their waves because they have like they have a 6.5 mm somewhere. Not similar products. That's not what I wanted. But they have a 6.5 mm hook, which they don't have. Normally you just have like the 6 and then it goes to 7, but I like the fact that they have a 6.5 mm. So I want to get their 6.5 mm hook. What I wanted to do is getting the J'adore cubics, these, but the interchangeable ones. And these are in wood, which I really like, and then of course get a set. But what I then wanted to do is also to get the special ones because they're shorter. I don't have big hands. These, the blue ones I just showed you, the cubic ones. Let's just jump back quickly. These are like, I think they're like 11 centimeters. So those would be a little bit shorter, but I'll be fine. And a slightly bit shorter, I'll be fine. It gives me a bit more room to wriggle around. But yeah, so I'll want the short version. Could always get the long version for if you make sweaters or something like that. Let's jump back over. So that's kind of what I wanted to get, like, you know. And they also come as double point needles, etc. But I really like these. And the fact that they are in wood just makes them light. Gorgeous. I don't need the fancy zip case, etc. 7 pairs of needle tips, 4 to 8 millimeters, are contained within the case of organizer that keeps them safely in place. Included are 4 black nylon-covered stainless steel wires with matte gold connectors in the length of 40 and 50 centimeters, which is way too long for hats. Plus a set of useful accessories. Unique cuboid shape, ideal for knitters with arthritis as well for beginners learning the strings of the craft. Tapered points are honored for perfection and effortless knitting. So, yeah, these are my wish list. The problem is just, well, obviously they cost money. So I don't know if the swivels that goes on here would work with other swivels, if that makes sense. Because you can see the whole list of cubics. But this is a fixed one, so they're not interchangeable. You can also buy them loosely for the interchangeable ones. Here you have the set, double pointed for socks, and then you have this classic old fancy ones. Those I've knit with. Like, that was what I learned to knit on. But yeah, and I'd want them to be 10 centimeters, not 13. 13 would be fine if knitting a sweater or something bigger. For hats, the smaller ones would be easier to work with. So yeah, I'll need to ask them if they have, and if it's possible, and whatnot. So, but there is still a bit of time before Christmas, and I am pretty okay with the knitting needles I currently have. I have cables in various lengths, so I am content right now with those. It's just, if I wanted to have them in wood rather than steel, or it's aluminium, I think, but metal. Anyhow, we are still keeping shape, which means if I put it on this plate where it's supposed to be lining up with, once I'm done with my other 3 rows, let's see, 1, 2, 3, so I need to line up here and here. I think we are actually doing a pretty good job, still keeping the shape. Awesome. Well, you can go back into that. So where did I start? I did that here. I just like to keep the starts to the same place, if that makes sense. Welcome back, Hella. I hope the appointment went well. We were just talking about knitting needles, which I'll probably end up showing you maybe at some stage. I still need to debate if that could be an idea for Christmas, which is far out in the future. So the challenge is that I haven't bought them myself sooner than then. But that's only, I guess, if I really go crazy on this knitting. So far, I'm pretty content with my new cubic needles. Anyhow, we have 3 rows to go before grabbing that other block and needing to do a row where we single crochet those 2 together. But yes, these elongated trebles seems to have fixed the issue I had, and the fact that I decided on turning the other one into it's not a doily. I think it's also sort of a pot holder, but it will hold my vases with flowers on the table. Yep. So yeah, looking at the yarn, obviously I will need um, some more yarn to be able to finish a second pot holder, assuming this one still becomes a success. So far, I would say it has a good chance of actually making it to the final project or product. And then, yeah, I'll have to get some yarn once it's on sale again. So I'll have to keep my eye out for that. Right now, we're just doing the classic granny square corner. I think I need to pull you guys a bit closer because I feel that I'm getting a bit tired in my shoulders. So I want to relax them a bit. And I can easier do that when I lean back. And then like that. So I think that's better. Don't forget to drink. So, and one of the reasons I say don't forget to drink, I was at Monday evening. I had an appointment, so I just got myself a new membership at the fitness because I really need to retrain my muscles. I've the last many years is I've not been. I need to be kinder to my body, and that is one of the reasons I've started doing this. We will have to see how long I hold out. But I've so I started there, and I had this body analyzer. So basically, you get on a sort of a weight scale that also measures of fat, muscles, liquids, bone mass, whatever or not in your body. And apparently, I need to drink more. And I kind of knew I wasn't the best drinker, but I didn't consider myself a bad drinker compared to other people. Like, if I compare myself to my partner, I'm a really good drinker. He's like the worst. He is not very good at drinking enough. So yeah, that's why I try to remind you guys to drink your liquids. Michelle says, have you ever wanted to crochet a cardigan with the yarn art flower cakes? I love that yarn. Yes, I have considered making like a hexie or something like that, maybe out of them, or just whatever design style that speaks to me. I have definitely been considering, or a vest for that matter. I definitely have. So I did a poncho of the yarn art flowers alpaca flowers alpaca. What's that now? 2 years ago? At Christmas, it's 2 years ago. I started it. So it's a year and a half ago I finished it, I guess. And that is a poncho I'm really happy with, except it's way too warm to wear in the summer, but it's awesome when it's chilly outside. And I've also had it on for a few of our live streams after I finished it. But that is not leaving this home. Nope, not a chance. That is a for me project that I'm really happy that I made. Do I want to make more? Maybe, but it took like forever. That really took a long time, and it was a heavy thing to work with towards the end because it was like 2 full cakes, and I was like crocheting it on and on and on. It was like not sewing them together. So I was yeah, it just took a long time to do 2 full cakes together. Me too. It's just the time it's going to take forever for my gal size. I'm at 44-inch bust size, and I'm like 44-inch. Jing! I need math to count that. I'm a centimeters girl. I'm metrics. So we'll need to inch to centimeters. Inches to centimeters. Inches. Oh, accept 40. How much is 44 inches? Convert 111. Oh, we're probably not that far off one another, I think. I don't know. We can measure for funsies. Just for funsies. I'm a little bit less. Like, I'm 41. But that's like a tight fit around my bust. That's a benefit of this little measure tool. It has inches on one side, centimeters on the other side. Love it. But yeah, so the inlines alpaca poncho or inlines alpaca, whatever it's named, on Hobby. is what I made mine in, and that's nice. Yeah, they take up space. But I was quite happy with the end result of that. I can see if I can find the pattern in line. Ugh. Behave. And this is how I never finish anything on time. Inlines alpaca poncho. Here it is. It is a paid pattern though. I don't know why it only got 2.5 though. That is the poncho I made in exact those colors. I just didn't get the hobby wheels of alpaca. I got the yarn art alpaca flowers. Alpaca flowers. In the same colors. I think yarn art even has their own site where you can see them. But where you basically need 2 of these. But hobby's wheel of alpaca looks different than the others. They have a few colors that match up, but not all of them. These are the hobby ones, which aren't bad either. Not at all. A few gorgeous colors in between. Like the peonies. Purple Rain, I think they're similar somewhere else. But yeah, so they do definitely have nice colors. But this one I made, and that fits fine. And I think that would also be okay with a 44-inch bust size. And you'll probably use different yarn if that's the case. The wheels of alpaca is a bit thicker than the regular the regular yarn art flowers. Yeah, you remember my progress on the poncho? It took a while though. I think it took me 3 months. That said, I did other projects at the same time, so I didn't only work on the poncho, so that is valid to say. I definitely did work on other projects as well. But yeah, so that poncho I'm really happy with. Would I make something else large size? Definitely. I have my thoughts for sure. But there's just a few other things I want to make too, like shawls and everything. I need to find a new shawl project actually. And I need to find yarns for that as well. But I've considered skipping over my normal shawl selection progress, and because I do have some leftovers from the cowl I made. I made the ginger tea cowl where I finished all the crochet work Monday. I still need to do some light blocking and craft the buttons and sew them on. So the cowl isn't finished, but the crocheting part of the work is finished. I should actually have waited to wrap up that yarn because I need to sew buttons on. Crickets. No. And I have some yarn left from when I did that. And that yarn is matching another cake I have. So what I have been considering is to go ahead and progress and starting up another Ultimate Sacrifice shawl where I can use that dark outer edge as the heart. And then start with a light blue. as a center. It looked like a yarn knot, but it's just a twist in the yarn. I was like, no, not the dreaded factory knot, but there hasn't been one in this yarn actually. So far, I've been lucky. Michelle says, sorry about being gone for a while. I've been doing ancestry research. My peeps are coming from Sweden, Gotland, Sweden, Tusøy, Norway, Funen, Denmark, Langeland, Denmark. It's been very interesting. Oh, so that is definitely interesting. So my sister lives on Funen, in Denmark. And of course, well, I'm Danish, so right now I go quite regular to Denmark. And it's just about 2 weeks ago that I finally posted my visit to the first ever hobby store, like the physical hobby store in Denmark, and that was the first that they made. And that was also my first visit to that store, and I had a really good impression of the store. It was like a really nice space. You really felt that you were in a place with yarn addicts and people that kind of knew what they were doing. The employees were really keen to help you find the right yarn. Also, if it was a yarn that um, like the pattern wasn't using normally hobby yarn, they would find a really good substitute for it. So I really had a really good impression of that store. Um, Definitely a place that's worth visiting. I also do believe my mom were keen on going once she feels better. Um, so that is a project for out in the future, maybe. We first need her to get to feel better. Ah, yeah, that's a while ago. It was about the 1200 Viking age. Yeah, that is a long time ago. Definitely a long time ago. I haven't looked that far back in my ancestry, but I assume that I am also a pure blood Dane, more or less. Could be that I don't know. I do know that my granddad is from the southern part of Denmark, so it could very well be that they have either some German or Polish blood. Um, but it could also be that they're just 100% Danes. I just know there was a period of time where lots of workers came up north to work in Denmark in the fields down there, and it's not impossible. But I never really done research on my dad's side, and my mom's side is done by my auntie, and she did some really great research actually. Um, Went quite a few generations back. Oh no, yarn split. Almost didn't happen with this color, except, well, now it just did. Feels so thin here. We need to get down and get you. Oh, did I do? No, I didn't. 2 wraps. for the treble, and that is, oh, not that one, that space, and then to elongate it a bit. And there we would have to go in here. Let's see. But yeah, so if you ever go to Denmark, ever, and you visit Copenhagen, then take the train 20 minutes to a city called Roskilde. You can walk from the train station to the hobby store. It takes about maybe 15 minutes from the train station. And it's also like there's lots of opportunities close by if you want to take a piece of food, like if you want to grab a sandwich or something like that. Can definitely become a day adventure. And I like how easy it is to access because obviously the train station walk is, yeah, it's very close, so that's really nice. So we are starting on the second round of this grape color. It was super fun. Like I really enjoyed the yarn store, like the hobby physical store. It's really good. At least I think they got some really good employees. And I didn't even really talk with employees. I just overheard conversations. Like, you know, I was just soaking up the yarns, especially the yarns that I've been looking at online and wanted to get, but haven't bought them because I don't have the right project for them yet, or I have an idea, but I have so much else in my stash I need to use up first. So I haven't bought it yet. So it's like been pending, if that makes sense. And I've like not been sure if that's been what I wanted or like would the feeling be what I thought it would feel like? And therefore it's just been like pending, if that makes sense. No yarn split. I was so proud of what hadn't split much. We actually forgot to check how the shape is churning out, and I would say it's still sort of keeping its shape. So that's good. So yeah, I just, you know, I went around there and I soaked up the experience and looked at the yarns and so on, and I overheard conversations, and you know, they were like so helpful there. So that's kind of nice. Like, you know, yeah, I wouldn't mind living closer. At the same time, I also know that the prices in Denmark, even when on sale, are more expensive than the prices in the Netherlands when on sale. And that reason is because of the value add taxes. In Denmark, they pay 4% more in value add taxes than we do here in the Netherlands. And it's maybe also partially due to they look at similar prices, etc. So I would still buy them online. I wouldn't buy them in the store, I think. Michelle says, interesting, sounds like so much fun. And then I'm at work. You have an amazing day. Goodbye, all. Take care, Michelle. Have a great day at work. I already finished work today. I did that. What is that now? 2.5 hours ago, approximately. A bit more than 2.5 hours ago. I still have things to do for work, but also some aspects of my normal regular work wasn't too busy today. But I had to do a few other things, like at the end of every month, I need to do our financial reports from the previous month, and that takes up a bit of time. So that's what I mainly spent the time on today. So some of the other things I kind of normally would have done, I gotta do tomorrow instead, which is fine. Um, and then Friday is probably gonna be busy because it's usually busy the first few days of the month as well. But I really do like my new job, and I really genuinely hope that they will extend my contract. So right now I'm on a time limited contract, so to say, which basically means that my current employment will end in November, and I think, like, I don't know, but I hope genuinely that they will extend my tenure with the new contract. In the Netherlands, it's there's a rule that you don't necessarily need to get a permanent contract, like an unlimited, non-fixed. Um, Indefinite, it's called indefinite until you retire contract, unless the company goes bankrupt. We start by 2 time limited contracts, which usually is like minimum 3 months up to a year. And then they need to be extended. But the third time the company wants to extend your contract, they must give you a fixed, like permanent fixed indefinite contract. And honestly, I am generally really happy with what I'm doing, so I have little reason to move on as of. So it's only if the company doesn't want to extend my contract, and if that happens, then that happens, and I would be really sad. So we are progressing well. We need another 3/4 of this round and then one more full round. That said, I am not sure if we will finish all of this during this live. And if that's indeed the case, then I'll suggest that we could work on it on the next live. Or optionally, I'll just finish it off later. Still not sure if that's going to be today. Which definitely could be an option because it's not missing that much. As I said, we are missing, so this round that I'm working on right now, plus one more round, and then I need to single crochet them together with the back piece. Given the fact that this is still squared by then, and so far, within reason, I would say it still looks squared. So we should be good. I'm just curious. I think I'll need to break loose a new skein at some stage, which of course for my yarn consumption is good because we still have this project of decreasing my stash. And then I say, hey, it's an excuse to buy new yarn when I make the mistake I did, but I still gotta work off the yarn that I buy as well, right? So Let's keep that in mind. I'm just checking that I've stretched it enough so I don't get this curvy indentation. I think they're still being all right. I also need to consider a project to bring with me on my next Denmark trip. Not sure which yet. But I do have more or less a bit more than a week to think about that. But I'd like something, I think I'd like something more simple. And this ultimate sacrifice that I want to recreate to quote unquote quickly get rid of some yarn that else otherwise had to go to my scrap pile. It's not ideal because depending on when I start on it, and I will start on the center of the cake, but the problem is my yarn has to go into my check-in luggage. And the reason for that is my carry-on is filled with stuff that can't go into the check-in due to being electronics. Like I need to bring my work with me, so I need to travel with my work computer, but I also need to travel with my private computer for practical reasons, etc. And therefore, there's not much room left in my backpack, to be honest. And in the airport, I tend to work when able because that means that I have to work less at a different time. Me like the fact that I can work from the airport because if I can work an hour in the airport, I need to work an hour less during my actual work hours. So that is super attractive to be able to do that. Oddballs! Yay! Hey Lisa. Hope you're doing well. Good morning. Finally made it again. Yeah, you've had some recovery time and everything else going on. I'm so glad to see you, lady. You can't imagine. I'm super happy to see you around. Oh no, yarn split. You're healing well. Great. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. So, in other words, the surgery was a success. But we need to be patient with healing. I hope that goes quicker than anticipated, yet I know it's healing is always a patient thing, and we are regularly not that patient when it comes to our health. Um, Surgery was a success. Great. I've at some stage been considering if I want to do sort of eye surgery as well, because I'm basically blind without my contacts. To like get lens replacement or something like that. But then now I'm not so sure anymore because my fitness instructor is not able to read very well on the screen because his view is pretty crap to say at least. And I told him, like, I saw him looking at the screen to make an appointment, schedule the appointment with me. So he was like looking at the agenda, and I was like, the way you're looking at the screen, mate, I think you should go to the um what's it called, the eye doctor, the eye guy, the the person that checks your eyes and fixes glasses and so on. And his reply was simply, "I've been there. They can't do anything because it went wrong during eye surgery." And I was like, "Crack. Maybe I don't want to do that." At optometrist. Thank you, optometrist. That's a difficult word for me. Um, and I'm like, maybe I'll just be happy with my contacts opposed to suddenly not being able to see as well as I currently do. One of the reasons being I would feel extremely lost without my eyesight. Um, as I'm depending on my eyesight for my shooting. Of course, I could change and then become a visual impaired shooter, but yeah, no. Not when I've been used to what I've been used to for so many years. So that's basically that would probably be a fear, and it's more like then I don't need to do the contacts every day because I use like daily contacts, right? But I'm not sure if I'd probably rather just have my eyesight than risking it. Um, so he did scare me a little by saying that, and I was like, "Mwah, I'm not so sure anymore." My uncle had laser eye surgery. It was a success, but it only lasted 10 years till he had to wear glasses again. And that's another thing. Um, it's a lot of money for a potentially you need to wear glasses again. I'm though slowly getting off the age where they could do a full lens replacement. So it's not the laser surgery or the LASIK surgery. It would be like a full lens replacement in that event if I would be considered a good candidate. I don't even know that either. Um, but I checked the prices and it's gonna cost me like 4.5, 5,000 euros, which is a lot of money. Um, and then I need to calculate how many years of contact lenses can I get out of it. If it's like equal 10 years of contact lenses, maybe it's worth it. But is it worth the risk of potentially screwing up my eyes? It's a lot of money, that's the thing. It's like because it won't be covered by my insurance, right? It will be pay from your own wallet. And the money I have, like I'm able to pay for it. But is it worth the investment? Like, or could I better use the money for something else? Because it is a lot of money. So one need to think about how one spends the money. Oh, that's probably true. Abba says, I think lens replacement is safer than laser. That is probably true. But it still requires some sort of cutting. I don't know. I am considering it. Hello, Catnaps. Wonderful to see you here. Hope you're having a great morning. I'm really cranking back on this. I shouldn't. And yeah, so I've been considering it, but I am not 100% sure. So I guess that's the honest bit. But it's definitely crossed my mind. Because lens replacement should technically be for the rest of your life. Technically, right? Because it's your lens that goes non-perfect. But what other risks comes with it? They tend to first recommend lens replacement in your like mid-40s, which I'm not yet. I am the crisp age of 40. But I don't, yeah, I don't know. I get to think about that. But again, as I said, it is a lot of money. And when it's a lot of money, one needs to consider how to spend it. Is that the best investment I can do for the money, or would I rather have something else? There's many things I'd like to have, and then the end results come down to that I don't have enough money because I don't have enough to cover it all. Apple says, while I was on bed rest, I made 2 ginger tea cowls. I finished the one I made, as in I finished the crochet work. Pattern does say don't block it, but I need to block it because it shrinked during all those front back posts. This yarn keeps, right now it does want to split on me. That was better. So I finished the crocheting bit. I need to create the buttons, and I need to block it and sew the buttons on, because I think it needs blocking. Mine are the same. I still need to block the mallet buttons. Okay, I'm not alone. But I like how it turned out, like the visual look of it. And as I just said before you joined, is that I'm considering on taking the leftover yarn of the cake and use that as like the dark part. I want to use that as the heart for the ultimate sacrifice shawl. And then I have another cake because I have 2 of those cakes, right? Now I only have 1 left and some scrap. And I'll take the scrap and make that center heart of it. And I'll take it from the light side, the other cake, and work the ultimate sacrifice shawl. And then eventually I will have to add, like, I'll have to do a bit of cutting so I can increase the yarn length of the rest, which I'm definitely considering. So I'm probably going to do that. But you say she used the Stanley Merino cake 1000 and I got 2 cowls from 1 cake. Oh, nice. Yeah, I used the Hobby Azalea for the cowl. I'll imagine indeed that this Stanley Merino cake 1000 would be a great version as well to do it with. Definitely. I need one more row of purple. And then we should be good. But I have the feeling it's not as big as the other one right now. So did I forgot some counting? But maybe it's just because it looks like it, because it's one big flat piece. I don't know. Technically, this should fit here and this should fit up here. And this should fit this side. This should fit this side. Down here. Yeah, well, it definitely needs some stretching. But figure-wise, it looks better than the one that, because right now, size-wise, they're almost similar. Just need one more row, but they're equally width. So, by the figure of speech, it is better. But it still needs a little bit of pulling. Oh, I also won a box of Expression Fiber art yarn last weekend. I'm hoping it's in the mailbox today. Oh, sweet. I know when yarn. I try, but nope. I am just not, in that sense, a lucky one. Yeah, we're getting there. It definitely looks less curvy than the other one. Like, you know, here you can easily see it. It's one row bigger, but here you can like see how it kind of like curves up because it's too pulled on those front posts, which I fixed by doing them elongated. So yeah, I think I have a good feeling. But I can also see on the time, and that is what I mentioned earlier, that I won't finish this one today, or at least not during this live. We will have to do that another time, or I'll probably end up doing it on my own just to see. Yarn split. I started down a rabbit hole and I'm learning to knit socks. Not a bad plan. Knit socks are nice. Like, I got a pair of knit socks with me back home. Was that in June, I think? Which I totally forgot to show you guys. But it's upstairs. So I'm not gonna run up and pick them up because that's just really inconvenient. But yes, my mom knits my lucky socks. I am wondering if things needs to change because they are changing aspects within the shooting sports of our kit, including our shoes. And if they go the route that they are considering, I may consider different socks than what I currently do. I do agree with the fact that change is needed. If I look at what we were allowed to use 13 years ago, it is just a bit more than 13 years ago that that I was in London. And today, if you look at performance-wise, one would say that we can almost discuss if it's technical doping, so not like medical, but the equipment is bounding limitations in a such way that one could discuss how much skill is required. There is definitely some skill to it. But I do agree that changes does need to be made to the rules, and in that event, I'll need new kit if I still want to keep compete, which I don't know because, well, I'm not as strong as I used to be, right? Yeah, but now my kids all want some, and I have 3 guys with size 13 plus feet, so that's like a size 48. Oh my goodness. Sounds like my cousin. He also has like a size 48, like big feet. I'm a small size. I'm just like a size 39, 38, 39, sometimes 40. Kind of depends on the shoes, so I'll just generally stick to 39, which is like a size what, 7 maybe? But that's like a UK 7, I think. I don't know. What I'll do is I'll probably hold on to the corner. Then I may very well probably sometime this week finish this on my own. And then I'll need to make a copy if I think the result is good. And if that's the case, well, I will need to order yarn because I don't have enough to make a copy of this. And the other one, we kind of agreed, has received a designated life as a holder for my vases or bowls or whatever not that I'm placing on my table. Yeah, so we're quite similar to size. I'm having slightly bigger feet, but not much. Like if I would have to wear heels, I would have to go to a size 40. And if the shoes are a little bit bigger in size, I'm definitely a 38. We are at the classic granny square corner. Before my yarn split. So I'll need to redo that because I don't get happy when I see a tiny, tiny yarn loop hanging on its own. That's a sign that the yarn split. And it looks less smooth. So we are fixing that. Ta-ta! That's it for today, I'm afraid, because time does want to pop up a little bit, but it's not as bad as the other one. So I do definitely need to elongate those triples is the conclusion here. And looking at the yarn here, I will need to change yarn before I'm all the way around. So yes, I will also need yarn. But I want to go ahead and finish up this maybe later today, I don't know, but this week, and I'll show it to you. It could be cool if I could do it today or tomorrow because I can show it then in Friday's yarn talk video. That would be really, really nice if that's a success. What we are going to do is we are going to pop you guys up to my sweet head. there. Yeah, since everybody wants socks, I had told Ayan. Yeah, well, what a horrible excuse, huh? Horrible, wonderful excuse. Um, that's yeah. I'll need Torayan to make a second if this one turns out as nice as I think it could. It's cool. I'm fine with it, but I need to figure it out. But I'll first do that when it's on sale, and I know it comes on sale eventually, but it could be another month or two. And I'm cool with that. It'll just be in my waiting stash pile. And then I had to make shipping worthwhile, so I ordered some more. Even better reason, I don't want to pay for shipping. If that means I can get free shipping just to buy a bit of extra yarn, I'll do that. Definitely. Most definitely. That said, I think we are at a stage where to end this live because it's 5 p.m. and I need to fix some stuff for dinner. I do think I actually want to finish up. If I could finish up that maybe either today, it's gonna be today or tomorrow. And we'll have to see when the rest will come along and get finished, done, dusted. I also started on a knit project, which I showed a little bit earlier in this live. I can't just quickly show just a sneak peek, which is 8mm Chupix needles. It's gonna be a hat. And it's just classic rib knit, nothing fancy, but it's 3 strands I'm holding together, where one is white, one is brownish, and then the last one is variegated, so it kind of keeps alternating the browns and whites, and that gives this absolutely gorgeous coloring. I really like how this yarn is working up in these different strands, so that is super nice. So that is another project I'm working on, but this probably won't finish before August, beginning of August. I think, because I'm realistic and it's the 30th today and tomorrow is the last day of the month. Well, it's not going to happen this month. But this, I could definitely finish in July. So I'm probably going to aim for that instead. What I'm going to do now is going to say thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out with me. It was absolutely a wonderful, great time as always. I am not going to be live on Monday. But I'm likely to be live next week, Wednesday, to hang out with you guys. Before again, then later that week, heading to Denmark. But yeah, we'll find a new project to work on next week. And until then, I'm going to say thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you're rewatching this live and you made it all the way here, thank you so very much. I very much appreciate your support. It was wonderful to hang out with you guys. As I say, it is a nice crochet and hangout time here because it's like, if you're a little crafty club, I like that. It's a nice atmosphere. So it was really nice seeing you again at balls. Have a great day. I wish you a continuous good recovery. Hello, Happy Sabby. Yeah, unfortunately, because it's 5 p.m. for me and I need to get some dinner going. Yeah, I'm so sorry. You say hi, Stine. So I'm wondering where you're from, because that sounds really Scandinavian. I'm myself Danish. I do live in the Netherlands. Yeah, aftensmell. Hey, I would say Danish. Denmark. Hallelujah. Hey. So I'm Danish myself. Yes, and god aften. I need to start looking at some aftensmell as well, which is dinner. My partner is Dutch, and I live in the Netherlands, so that's kind of why. But I am Danish, definitely. And I went to Hobby in Roskilde, and I have if you haven't been to the hobby store in Roskilde and you want to watch that one, I would recommend you to watch that. Yes, you're making my shawl. Took 3 months so far. The leaf shawl, the leafy shawl, or the virus shawl, because the virus shawl is technically not my design, but it's so common everywhere, so I'm cool with making a video on that. A lot of people have returned to me and say that they find my tutorials really friendly to follow. Happy Sabi says, cool, I've been there. I love the store. I live on Morsø. Okay. It's been a while. I should have been there at some stage, probably. I just need to find the location just quickly. Because the name is very like ringing a bell. Oh, it says no. That is not. It wants to send me to Mors. I can't believe that's not the same. That's not the same. But it still wants to send me to Mors. Ah. If that's really the case, I have family not far from Glyngør, if you're from Mors, but no. Morsø is a municipality, I would say. But it wants to send me to Morsø. Yeah, well, that's Mors. Morsø and Morsø is the same. That's probably why I'm like, I have the feeling it's the same and it's not. Yes, Mors. So I have family. They used to live in Glyngør actually, but now they live in Nautrup, which is like what, 3 or 4 kilometers from Glyngør. So yeah, I have family all the way up there on Selling. So that's kind of cool. My cousin lives in Skive, but my parents live on Sjælland, so I'm originally from Sjælland. And I go to Roskilde regularly at the moment because my mom, unfortunately, is struggling with Hodgkin's lymphoma. We go to Vejle for my husband's language tests. Okay, cool. I did all mine down here in the Netherlands. I went to Utrecht for those. Took the exam, so technically I speak fluent Dutch, which, well, I think is pretty correct actually. I think that's definitely correct. I do speak fluent Dutch. And I speak a decent German too, for those curious. And obviously English is natural, Danish is natural. Born and raised in Denmark. I moved to the Netherlands in 2009 because my partner is Dutch. I met him actually at a competition in the Netherlands and had a really great time. And then I moved here. Oh, he's from New Zealand. So when we go down there, we always go to the stores that are closer than here, like Culling or sometimes Middleford. That makes totally sense. That does make sense. My partner's family immigrated to New Zealand back in the 60s, and we went to New Zealand together to visit them back in the year 2022, 2023. Like we left at Christmas Day, 2022, and we got home the end of January 2023. That year they had two cyclones and we evaded both. Like the first one hit when we were visiting the Southern Island, it was only hitting the Northern Island. And the second hit a week after we flew home, and Auckland was like flooded with like a meter of water. Like we saw videos on the news from the check-in areas, and I was being like, holy smokes, like how? Just how? Because it looks so different because of all the water, like compared to when we were there like a week earlier. So we were pretty lucky, especially because all the trips were planned like a few months in advance. So how could we have known when the cyclones would hit? But those 4 weeks we were there, we only had one day of rain. Everything else was sunny. Like, how can we be so lucky? Abu Sabi says, "Oh, nice. We actually have to go to New Zealand at the same time. Him and I met when we both loved in Australia, but he's Samoan, born in New Zealand. I definitely want to go someday." Oh, cool, cool, cool. Yeah, definitely. I had great experience in New Zealand. Was definitely it's if you have the money and you have the ability, you need to go at least a couple of weeks for sure. It's really worth it. I'm ready to go again, but I have a few other things to get done before then. And yes, um, I definitely need to go fix dinner. I'm just quickly going to share the link for my visit to Hobby's store in Roskilde, which is the original hobby store. For those that's curious on how that looked. So I'm just going to share that for those that feels like giving it a good watch. Yes, for sure. We have family reunion in Australia in 2027. Good Lord, that's nice. I'm jealous. I'd love. I'm keen on family reunions. But it's gonna be a few years, and we need some renovations at the home first. We probably need to focus on putting some money into before traveling down there because I think the travel and everything, all of the expenses, probably like 6 to 7, maybe even 8,000 euros before we're like for those 4 weeks, on average. Yeah, and we had the luck we could live with family, because we stayed like we had some of the time we stayed at hotels. I think of the 3.5 weeks we're technically in the country. I think 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks we stayed with family, and the rest we were staying at hotels. Anyhow, see the video from Hobbies in Roskilde if you haven't been there, and it's absolutely a great store with great employees. I was really positively surprised. And yes, it's so expensive to fly down under. I paid 9,000 krona last time for a return trip, and I booked it almost 6 months before leaving. Yeah, we got a return. I think we paid 2,400, 2,300, 24, almost 2,400 for hours. For return New Zealand, we flew with Emirates, so we had stopover in Dubai, and then we went straight to Auckland from Dubai. So it was really nice because it was as short as possibly, like it was a very long flight, but it was the shortest travel time. So that I really enjoyed. Um, I wish you a great day, everybody. A great day. Wonderful to meet you, Happy Sabi. I'm gonna be live next week, Wednesday as well, from around 2-ish p.m. Central European time till 5-ish. That's usually my time frame. I'm gonna dazzle off and fix dinner. Take care and happy crafting, everyone. And I'll be back on Friday in my weekly yarn talk video. Bye. Love y'all.